Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues, friends, guests, partners. Welcome to the closing webinar of the Daring Cities 2024 Virtual Forum. My name is Yunus and I'm the Director of Global Advocacy at ICLE, Local Government for Sustainability. We will just give a couple of seconds for all the audience to settle down with their online participation so that we are not disturbing anyone during the presentation. So we thank you for your patience. We have an exciting agenda, the diversity of updates, and we'll slightly go through the agenda shortly, but we'll still make sure that our attendees are all online in the right format. Um, uh, so for those who are new for our discussions, you may also be aware that we have plans to record this webinars, and you will also receive the the, the links later on. For this one, our time is relatively limited, so we believe we may not be too much open for questions from the floor on an interactive basis. But in case you have any comments during the discussions, feel free to type in the chat box. But we will make sure that your voices are heard as much as possible. I think we have reached to our list of or the duration that we have foreseen for settling in. So this is once again the closing webinar of a journey that we have kicked off at the beginning of the year. Since March, we have been engaging in this agenda. So today we will be setting our discussion in the 60 minutes. We will have a broad view of where are we going towards the annual climate conference in terms of the perspectives of cities. Especially during the Daring Cities, we have discussed a lot on multi-level action. So we'll hear from the mayor of Bonn first, a video on how she has been encouraging and leading this process. We will have a very exciting update because you may remember in July we have announced that there are new countries being brought by local leaders, and Finland was the most prominent example. We have heard outcomes in New York during the climate summit in September. We will hear the feedbacks or the experience of the Finnish stakeholders. We will then see where this champ fill in overall perspective of our constituency in the way to Baku. How are we preparing for that? My colleague Ariel will take us through our position. And then we will see our discussions over virtually on this 12 weeks plus our in-person dialogues, how they have been aligning or contributing or complementing the discussions. We will close our first part of this discussion in terms of the inputs is where we are advancing on the town hall ideas and how this fits into this new era of local to global climate action. And our last part is we have three guests, three partners who would share their feedbacks. One you are very familiar from Bristol, has been very actively engaged with us, and Shelley will be joining us, Shelley Nanya. We have two new colleagues joining us, Anna Hall from Alfa Laval and Aydın Charon from the Earth Day Network. So that will be the setup of our agenda. We'll have an interactive dialogue with them. With this in mind, let's listen to the big message, the big picture as presented by Mayor of Bonn, who is the host of the Daring Cities as well. So let's listen to her.
Dear fellow mayors, dear urban and subnational leaders, as ICLE Chair for Climate Action Governance, I am addressing you at a pivotal moment. We are just weeks away from the Summit of the Future in New York, the World Urban Forum in Cairo, and the 3 Rio COPs, Biodiversity in Cali, Climate in Baku, and Desertification in Riyadh. The momentum from Dubai last year and the tremendous support of the climate champions took us to Bonn and the June climate negotiations. Daring Cities in Bonn hosted the first dialogue of nations endorsing JUMP, the flagship initiative from COP28 for multi-level climate plans. Shortly after, the ICLEI World Congress in Sao Paulo led to national local government associations taking a proactive role to support delivery of CHAMP. The German Association of Cities spearheaded the movement, immediately followed by their peers in Brazil and the United States, and I'm so happy to now commend Finnish mayors and cities on playing a key role for Finland's endorsement to CHAMP as the first new country in 2024. 2 months from COP29 in Baku, it is time to step it up. I therefore encourage you, as local and regional leaders, to follow suit by joining forces with your national associations and bringing forward similar initiatives in your countries. Together, we can make a difference. You will be the bridge between your communities and your national government when the next generation of ambitious plans is developed addressing climate emergency at all levels. Host your town hall COP now. It offers a perfect space to discuss, develop and propose your new commitments, ideas and actions. And make sure all these are well included in your new national climate plans to be finalized next year. Let us walk the talk now and after COP29 by following up with your communities and national governments on the steps to be taken towards true multi-level collaboration. Please share your past, experience and accomplishments with us. Towards Baku, I warmly invite all partners to demonstrate a powerful input of our constituencies to the negotiations by endorsing the LGMA COP29 key positions. At COP29 in Baku, ICLEI will continue to lead the LGMA advocacy through the multi-level action and urbanization pavilion in the most appropriate setting. Last but not least, I'm excited to announce that in June 2025, Daring Cities in Bonn dialogues will serve as the main pit stop on the way towards COP30 in Belém in Brazil in November 2025, the critical moment to define successful delivery of our 2030 and 2050 goals for climate and sustainability. Thank you for your participation and valuable support.
Thank you to Mayor Turner. In fact, this was the message that was a welcome and congratulatory message to the Baku Climate Action Week. But actually, it was really summarizing the urgency and the need for multi-level collaboration, even in countries which where we are now multi-level collaboration is advancing. So Azerbaijan, in that sense, will be a model for improving this collaborative action. As mentioned there, the CHAMP initiative, which we have discussed also in the beginning of this virtual forum, has been one of the milestone legacy from Dubai into November 2023. And a year later, the first discussion among the CHAMP endorsers have been held in New York. And during this meeting, the first new endorser to the CHAMP family, CHAMP coalition, was from Finland. So let's listen from Turku Mayor and also ICLEI's first vice president, how she had rolled this out in collaboration with Minister of Environment. And then we will also listen to her experience with her discussion with Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as the Finnish business. But let's first hear Mayor Arve and Minister of Environment of Finland.
Hello, today I'm very proud of the fact that Finland is joining CHAMP Coalition for Climate. We are actually the first new nation to join this year, and we find it very important to strengthen the work for urban sustainability. We are living actually quite crucial times in how urban living will cope with sustainability requirements. In 2050, 70% of population in the world will be living in urban areas, so we are really in a decisive mode when talking about how cities will go forward to the sustainable future.
Yes, we as a cities, we are in the front line of the climate work, and I'm really proud that we already have in Finland very strong cooperation between the national government, regions and the cities. And this is way to make it even more systemic, be financed, be structured. And I find this CHAMP initiative to be one of those tools that we are proud to do here in Finland, but take this as a global challenge at the same time.
So in this video, you may have noticed Mayor Arve and Minister of Environment in Finland were together addressing the community. That was a prepared video in Finland. And they have then taken up the way towards New York. In New York, during the high-level agendas together with the UN General Assembly and Climate Week, there was additional discussion with Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was, of course, a completely different actor in the government space. So traditionally, climate agenda is discussed with the environment ministers or climate ministers. Obviously, we have been also introducing the ministers of urbanization in the past couple of years. And it is good that Minister of Foreign Affairs also are aware of this discussion, because they then come up these discussions into the UN General Assembly, like the Summit of the Future or Summit for Climate Summits that is also coming regularly. So now, what has been the message from the Minister of Environment, and how does it resonate to the Minister of Foreign Affairs? And you will also listen that during the New York, there were a number of Finnish business representatives who are also then announcing how they embrace this collaboration between different levels of government and how the business community can complement this. So let's now listen to the second video from Finland.
Finland is on track to become carbon neutral by 2035, one of the most ambitious targets in the world. To achieve this, we need innovativeness and strong partnerships. I am pleased to see Finland join CHAMP and set an example for how local and national cooperation can drive meaningful global change. Our commitment to collaboration across all levels of government will be critical in creating a sustainable, resilient future for all. In Finland, we see cities as indispensable partners in achieving the Paris Agreement and beyond, helping to bridge the gap between ambition and action. By joining CHAMP, Finland reiterates its commitment to climate leadership, which is not just about promises, it's about progress.
Cities need businesses in achieving our climate goals, and businesses need cities, and national governments need both. The fight for our planet is our shared fight, and this is how we can do it all together while partnering all of us in different levels. So this is why I think it's really important that Finland is also joining CHAMP, so we can get all in the same board to discuss with, not only discuss with the different matters, but also to achieve the goals that we need to do together.
Cities are made of people, and representing a company owned by 26,000 students that's been around for 156 years, Ylvat builds real estate investments and builds cities. And we can't do it if there's not a need and if they don't last for future generations. A quarter in a city must be not 3 months, it's 25 years. And long-term investment requires a lot of partnerships between networks of companies and cities.
So Oilan, Finnish-based, family-owned company, is specializing in environmental technology with an emphasis on providing solutions for reduced emissions, combat global warming, and increase efficiency for heating and cooling. We are pleased to be bringing this technology to the United States and worldwide to reduce dependency on carbon fuels.
And in that really couple of minutes, you can really feel how the whole of government and whole of society approach would really make a change in the upcoming NDCs, hopefully to be presented. In that sense, that's why we are hoping that the future will be much more ambitious, much more inclusive, and much more collaborative. In that sense, it's not just Finland. Across the world, local energy governments have been trying to bring their vision, their voice to the process in the global north, in the global south. So I'd like to invite my colleague Ariel to give us how this global message has been now digested, and how the cities like the Turku mayor or other cities around the world will now advocate our positions in Baku in the negotiations. Ariel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eunice, and hello to everyone on the webinar today. I'm happy to bring the joint position of the local governments and municipal authorities constituency into the spotlight for you. So we can go to the next slide. First of all, just as a little bit of background for those maybe who are new to the space, the LGMA is the constituency of cities, regions, and other subnationals to the UNFCCC processes and to the Rio Conventions. And one of the things that we have done now for the last 2 years is to bring a joint position of the representatives from the LGMA towards COP and all of the negotiations that are a part of COP. And this joint position is really a moment for cities and regions to have a united voice, to have a united goal that we are trying to achieve at COP, that all of the partner organizations, city networks, or individual entities who are representing at COP have something that they can refer to when they are advocating on behalf of cities and regions within the COP space. And so we're very excited for what we have this year. As you can see, we've really united around 3 particular asks, and I'll just read them in full here. So the first ask is accelerating inclusive, multi-level, gender-responsive, and cooperative action through new nationally determined contributions developed in partnership with local and other subnational governments. The second ask is financing sustainable urbanization and climate action at all levels. And the third ask is aligning the climate, nature, pollution, and sustainable development agendas. And as you can see, those are very high level asks, but we think that they actually give a sort of roadmap for how we, for the different goals that we're trying to achieve. And then we have created a kind of toolkit for folks to use who are attending COP. And so we hope that this is really going to empower our entire constituency to be able to bring these messages forward to the right audiences. So how are we doing that? We can go to the next slide. So the first document that you'll find in this toolkit, and on the last slide, there's a QR code so that you can go directly to these documents and see them yourselves. So this first document, the joint position, is just 3 pages long. And it is really great for speaking points. It's easy to understand, and it's really for a variety of audience members. And so we hope that this, because of the simplicity of this document, because it really is meant to kind of reach as many people as possible, that this can be a far-reaching message. And so we hope that by formulating it this way, we can really reach the audiences that we wanted to reach with our message. And then the next slide, you'll see that we have then 3 guidance documents. We can go forward to the next slide, that are really meant for the party negotiators themselves. And so these are get into the nitty-gritty of UN language. They have actual language in that can be a part of the text in the outcomes, and they're really meant to kind of be a guidance document for parties that can accompany the joint position and guide party negotiators on how to move forward to implement the joint position. So I'm not sure if we're able to advance the slides, but maybe we can show, yeah, there we go. So those are the party guidance documents. And then on our next slide, we have instructions on how to download. So we've got a QR code there, and then you can see the URL there as well. And so I have a couple of different asks for those of you today who might be attending COP29 or are in contact with local and regional government leaders, those who are working with them, to first off just download the position and become familiar with it. The more representatives from our community who are have educated themselves on what our position is and are willing to take that to delegates, however they're interacting with them, obviously the stronger this position will be. We're also looking for endorsers to the position. The endorsement invitation is open until the end of this month, so October 31st. On the very first day of COP, the constituency will have a press conference and announce the endorsers to the position to show the strength and variety and united front that our constituency has grown into. So again, you can download on the site listed there the position paper, and and then also follow the link for endorsements. So with that, I will turn things back over to Eunice.
Thank you, Ariel, and congratulations for all the partners who have granulated all our experience and wishes to see change and also shape the outcomes of the climate conference. That's exactly what is the new era that we're excited for, because we're not just watching or just criticizing or concerned, but we are part of the making, and that's the reason why it's especially important that, as you have seen, on governance, on finance, on implementation mechanisms, on linking to the rest of our sustainability efforts, there should be concrete recommendations how we can take it forward. And this is, of course, a process that is aiming to influence the UN. But of course, it's exactly the reason why we are also taking action at home, because in order to translate all the outcomes into action is something that really the mandate that we have been claiming for, that the local regions can turn policies into actions. And especially in the daring cities, the cities and regions who are committed to take serious and bold action on climate emergency. We have been exchanging so many dialogues over the past couple of weeks. Now it's time to remember what was the discussion we had over those weeks and months, how they fit to this global perspectives, and how they can also make a convincing argument that, in fact, these are already taking place, and we need collaborative work from business to national government so that these can be expanded worldwide. In that regard, I now would like to invite my colleagues, Barbara and Catalina, to take us through what we have the experience of ICLE and Daring Cities community over these past weeks, and what are the key messages that we would like to hear that have come up from the discussions. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Eunice. Just 1 second. There we go. And yeah, thank you so much. For those who don't know me, my name is Kata Schlinger, and I'm part of ICLE's global events team. And over the last few months, we've been working on Daring Cities together with my colleagues, Joanna and Barbara. And as Eunice just mentioned, we had the pleasure to host 2 Reflect webinars in spring, an in-person event at the beginning of June, and since then, a number of online events within the virtual forum. And under the theme, Powering Collective Action to Respond to the Climate Emergency, the forum facilitated exchanges among policymakers, as well as technical experts, and of course also our leaders and people from around the world to share knowledge and to showcase their innovative climate actions. All of them kind of, addressing the very much interconnectedness of the climate emergency. So now we're very happy to present our key findings, which are the following 3. So firstly, we have cities and regions have the power and the success stories to demand bold multi-level partnerships and governance for more ambitious climate action. Secondly, we have said cities and regions must embrace a bottom-up approach to create truly inclusive urban spaces for everyone. And lastly, we have cities and regions are implementing holistic and integrated solutions to tackle the climate emergency. So my colleague Barbara from the communications team will now delve deeper into the first finding. Barbara, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Catalina. Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara from the communications team. And deep diving into the first key message, I must say, we have discovered that for cities and regions, waiting for multi-level action to happen is not an option. So cities must push for multi-stakeholder action. And this means that they must show why policy alignment is so crucial. So our first key finding says that cities must unite multi-level governance. This includes the private sector, civil society, of course, including indigenous people and youth, and academia in joint efforts. Of course, early engagement with financial institutions, capacity building, cross-sector partnerships are essential for inclusive, impactful actions and solutions. Cities and subnational governments should should push for ambitious climate targets to be included in the next round of NDCs, and they should be aligned with COP28 CHAMP initiative that we have been discussing all throughout this year in the daring cities. The principles that are enriched in the CHAMP initiative, multi-level partnerships, they can also be brought up to other and further conference, not only to next year COP30. This is important. So cities must keep this steady drumbeat for multi-level action and governance beyond the next round of NDCs. And in this regard, the town hall COPs connect local climate action with national and global efforts, boosting collaboration and community involvement in NDCs and beyond.
Thank you, Barbara. And if we move on to our second key finding. So cities and regions must embrace a bottom-up approach to create a truly inclusive urban space for everyone. So from this, a few main points stand out, which are: a people-centered approach is needed in which all voices are heard. Underlying structures will only change if technical and cultural barriers are overcome, especially with the involvement of frontline staff and community members. Next, involving diverse groups, communities, and stakeholders is important, and this also includes involving the private sector, whose involvement and investment have to align with cities' needs and priorities. And this was also pointed out by our Finnish colleagues in the video that you just watched. Finally, inequalities related to, for example, gender, ethnicity, or social status must be addressed. And now for the last batch of key findings, back to you, Barbara.
Exactly. Cities and regions are implementing holistic and integrated solutions to tackle the climate emergency. We have discovered that integrated urban solutions that address different and interconnected aspects like health, well-being, nature access, housing, transport, energy, waste, people are integrating these solutions into their own urban planning. And they are also embracing the circular economy. Innovative climate solutions, for them to act, they need to expand the thinking beyond traditional approaches. And that's what we have learned during this year as well. Climate finance, of course, is still a crucial aspect. So the cities and regions must overcome these barriers, but we have learned that they are implementing innovative mechanisms to overcome the financial aspect, which is like the most pressing issue to tackle the climate emergency. To finalize, I will invite you all to rewatch our webinars, to read our blogs, and all these messages that are here presented today, we have them in these valuable resources on ICLEI, on daringcities.org.
Thank you so much. And back to you, Yunus.
Thank you, Kata and Barbara. Both a nice summary of our experiences and lessons learned and key messages, but also facilitating these really exciting journey throughout the year on behalf of the ICLEI's both communications team and events team. Catalin and Barbara, warm thanks to all of you to make this happen, and of course a big thanks goes to all partners who have bring together their partners, their expertise. As Barbara mentioned, this is a valuable resource for us. It is an information that we can build upon. And I see a couple of our colleagues on the line today are also asking some clarification questions. Barbara and Kata, I'd encourage you to make sure that the discussions in our meetings, in our discussions, maybe can provide some responses to Siegfried, our longtime friend and our founding partners and founding leaders could come up with some connecting partners as well. So in the next section, we will hear feedbacks from our colleagues, especially I would invite them to comment. But I in this last slide, I would like to just underline how are we able to or aiming to connect these two things, which is action on the ground with communities and with private sector, indigenous people, and connecting to the big spaces of UN and national processes. Those who may remember, on the end of July, when we kicked off the virtual forum, we had discussed the idea of town hall COPs, which is as a forward-looking process, so that we can bring those urgency of action and then innovation and the need for running faster into our climate planning. And there we were saying that in the past, in the stock takes, we were gathering ourselves about what we have achieved, but we were able to bring now this is what can be done together, what can we do together. And we were saying that particularly it is important that in these meetings from now on, make sure there's a participation from your local national governments, and that you also speak on behalf of your communities how you can contribute into the global debate, so that it's like a lineup to the future. I think this is showing up, as we have seen in the case of Finland, you have seen in the case of Germany, Brazil, America, US, that now there is a bigger dynamic that can shape the debate at the national level. And in that sense, the second chart here you see is our, let's say, new web, the new type of mechanisms that we want to have it annually. That's in fact some of the things that I'd like to keep in mind. There was never that there's we can never rely sense that once we achieve a result that we can rely back and that assume that it will run forever. Both the city administrations, the city leadership, the national leadership, and the global processes are always dynamic. There will always be powers to bring us backwards, so that we should always be alert, we should always be fresh, and we should always be keeping the momentum high enough, so that our opportunities can be facilitated and accelerated faster. We all know the disasters that we are seeing and the opportunities are seeing is really putting at a pressure from the north to south. We are seeing the inaction is costing us a lot. So in that regard, this chart shows us that from now on, we would like to make sure that the town hall COPs in every city and region should be a mechanism that can kick off sometimes like at the early beginning of the year, in the first quarter of the year or first half of the year. We can then bring our national associations of cities who can receive these inputs from their individual cities, so that hundreds of cities can feed to their national association, and through the national associations, like German Association of Cities, Brazil National Front of Mayors, or U.S. Conference of Mayors, we can then bring this to the attention of our national governments, that they can collectively receive these inputs, and then they can refresh their new climate plan, which is NDCs 3.0, and bring these results to the COP. And in that sense, LGMA, like we have seen in the case of ICLE in Finland and Germany and many other countries, we can facilitate, we can inform our partners that they can bring these information to their decision making, but more importantly, we can bring the results back to the UNFCCC and make sure our voices are heard in the global platforms. In fact, this new generation of dialogue is exactly what the Emirates, the consensus that's coming from Emirates is really urging us, so that we can show our communities that if we can make sure this kind of a machinery is functioning and bringing results, we can be comfortable. Our 1.5-degree goals, our climate neutrality goals can be reached much faster. And in fact, if there's no other way around, if there's no other alternative, this is very likely the only way to go forward, as we have a responsibility for our generations and the future generations. So the town hall COP is for us really a bridge to influence our national climate plans to be presented next year, and more importantly, to be reviewed annually and that taken up further. So that is our recipe for our success for 2030 targets, 2050 targets. We are very happy that we will start to make this consultation with our members, cities and regions around the world. We will even expect some consultations and some feedbacks during the Baku Climate Conference. And on the 20th of November, which is the Urbanization Day, we are hoping to bring new initiatives and new collaboration. In that regard, I am delighted. So we have three partners who will be joining us that we would like to hear their feedbacks about how this resonates at their own limitations or their own jurisdictions. In that regard, I would start with Shelley, my colleague Shelley, from Bristol. We have been working with them also in the local stock takes. They have gone through a political, very dynamic agenda this year, and they are very happy because their country is one of the last countries from the G7 countries who has joined the champ immediately the day after Finland. They were announced. Shelley, how is Bristol are engaged in climate action over the couple of weeks in the past, and how do you think UK engagement is now giving you a new source of hope? The floor is yours, Shelley.
Thank you, Eunice, and good to be here and contributing to this discussion. Yeah, as Eunice said, we are really happy in the UK that the UK government has signed up to CHAMP, and we've had a new government since May of this year. So I'm here representing Bristol and core cities, which are the 11 biggest cities outside of London, and we're also part of a commission called the Cities Commission for Climate Investment, which is core cities, Scottish Cities Alliance, key cities, and some other networks of subnational government in the UK. And we actually had a roundtable in New York at New York Climate Week, which our Minister for Climate and Net Zero attended, Minister Kerry McCarthy, and that's where she actually announced that's where we first heard about CHAMP. So we were really happy, and core cities and 3CI and others have made an offer to support the government in its commitments to deliver on CHAMP. So actually for us in the UK, in fact, I've just jumped off a call now with our Department for Energy and Net Zero. So hopefully there'll be some consultation and some talking and sharing examples of what local government is doing, the ambitious actions that we're taking over the coming weeks. So in Bristol and in some of the other core cities, we thought about what could we do collectively and individually as cities in the run up to COP. And as Eunice points out, we've got a new leader in Bristol this year, and we've had a couple of COP related events over the last couple of weeks, which we focused on where in the city we are taking ambitious climate action. So one was focused on youth engagement and the other one was focused on investment, because they're two areas where we think we are being progressive and taking action. Bristol is one of the 112 the European mission cities for carbon neutral and smart cities. And through that programme and with some other funding we've got from Innovate UK, we've developed a climate action plan and climate investment plan. So we had investors and other finance experts in the room sharing our investment plan with them and seeking their comments back on that. And essentially, through that investment plan, we've highlighted that essentially we need 7.8 million to deliver on our investment, our climate investment, and we've got 1 billion of that. Sorry, 7.8 billion. We've got 1 billion of that through our City Leap public-private partnership with Amoresco, but we need to get the rest of that. And so this investment plan is how do we go about doing that? So we had a really good discussion in the room, and that's going to be ongoing. The Youth Climate Action event was really great. We had our youth council there. We've received some funding from Bloomberg Philanthropies on youth climate action. So we had the young people involved in those projects in the room, and a big survey was carried out as well across Bristol schools on climate action. So we had those people in the room, and our leader summed up quite nicely when he said that this is a great way of young people being able to ask councillors, but also other city partners in the room about the issues that they were concerned about on climate action, the actions they were taking, and being able to hold the city to account. So we can share some of those insights. If there is a way of sharing that into the Town Hall COP programme, we can do that. As I said, we also look forward to having discussions with UK government over the coming weeks and months as well. So we'll be sharing some of those messages as well that have come from those events. We've also got a really big event, a public event that's happening on the 20th of November as well, which is being run by our Bristol Climate and Nature Partnership, which has got, I think it's over 1,000 members now of organisations in the city that are taking action on climate. And so we'll be feeding back on some of those events we had at City Hall as well. So I'll stop there, but I can take any questions as well.
Fantastic, Shelley. Thanks a lot. I think this shows, first of all, I think that supports a new administration. Bristol is also going through a new governance system, so the presence of such consultation mechanisms and especially connection to our business and governments, I think, is giving you the confidence that you can even accelerate further. I think that was a really nice example. In the chat box, I see a very interesting question about industrialization and urbanization. Bristol as being, like Glasgow, one of the first cities for industrial revolution and all the other processes. Maybe when we have time, you can also comment in Bristol how a new type of green industrialization is bringing new type of green urbanism. Maybe this could also be something we can discuss, but let's keep it for a while. I appreciate this question from our partners. But now I want to go to our partner, Anna Hall from Alfa Laval, who we have been connected actually in the last couple of months, and during the Bonn dialogues, we were part of the debate on the "We Don't Have Time" with global mobilization for communication and public awareness. It was a couple of days after our Bonn dialogues, and over these couple of months, we have been discussing the daring cities, these ambitious cities, the solutions. We have focused on to the national governments, of course, but as you have seen, whenever a city discusses, they have to discuss with their local partners, local business. How do you see, Anna, the future of this engagement and the role that business bringing together with cities to bring more climate action? The floor is yours, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you that I'm here and you invite me. And I also want to echo all the nice work you do. It's super important. I think one of the findings is that we really need to stop working in silos, that business and cities absolutely need to work together. So I represent Alfa Laval. We're a global company with about 20,000 employees. We are in 100 countries with global. And I'm also representing Energy Efficiency Movement, who organize 550 industries around the globe with ABB. That's also a big company, 100,000 with the founders. So I travel around a lot in these big climate meetings, but also meeting a lot of industry. And the industry echo, we really need to work together in the ecosystem. That's how we make difference. And how can we really leverage this? This is what I meet every day. I just here come from our meeting with our chief negotiator, Mathias Frumery, the Swedish chief negotiator. And we were just discussing this as you discuss here, so it's very nice. And what he says, you need to bring solutions. Negotiators really need to feel there's a security to put these brave NDCs on the plate. And we want to have localized NDCs, we want to have measurable NDCs, and we want to have investable NDCs. So what I can see here in the collaboration between business and ICLE, for example, we will have some events together at COP29, but that is really how we can work in the multi-level action. But I also think what I meet is that how do we unlock the funding? And I can see the funding will be unlocked by collaboration between business, industry, and the city. And that can be big investments as district heating, district cooling, but it can also be how we mitigate risks together. So I think we unlock the funding that is done together. I mean, now it's a funding COP. They are negotiating about $100 billion for funding. Some parties want to have it up at 1,400 billions. But I mean, globally, what we see is that 20% will be governmental money, but 80% will be private money. And that can only be unlocked by collaboration. And that's why multi-level action, as you describe it, is really music to my ears. So what I really would like to do is to how we can form processes for this. I mean, we all know COP is coming up. We just came home for Climate Week, where we had really nice high-level discussion. Yunus, thank you so much for contributing to this. We know Bonn is coming up, where you have big meetings. In between here, you have your town hall COPs, yes. And how can we then collaborate, bringing the solutions, show that the cities, this is really the urban areas where this industry actually are a part of, the business is a part of. How can we contribute with these solutions that already exist? How can we contribute that they really get implemented? How can we together unlock the money? And I think your town hall COPs will be crucial for this. If we can bring the solutions, maybe we can, I mean, I see a picture, we work with We Don't Have Time that have a huge network of climate, they have a climate platform. We worked with them, we reached around, last COP, I think we had 10 million viewers. In Bonn, we had almost 6 million viewers. How can we maybe leverage on bringing the solutions in the town hall COPs, maybe like a buffet of solutions, and also show the negotiators, show the governments that's now going to form the brave NDCs, that we are really prepared to work together, we're prepared to unlock the money, and we're prepared to really leverage on those measurable NDCs that we want you to form. So all what you talk about here, music to my ears, and I really hope we can find a process where we can collaborate over not only COP and Climate Week New York, but also your big Bonn event and also in your town hall COPs. Hands-on, solutions.
Excellent. Thank you, Anna, for really this very motivating comments. And that, as you have heard, both from Finland and Shelley, the need for investment, connect the ambitions to investment. And I think you just exactly touched on this point. And as I feel that this is also an offer, so that in the planning of next year, we can maybe pick up a couple of, let's say, solutions-oriented dialogues, and then we can bring this to the attention to the nations in June, and we can ask them to be included in the NDC so that they can say that I will take it further. I also see in the chat box, for example, some concrete specific questions on energy. Street lighting is becoming an issue that came from here. Maybe we can use this on the follow-up. Maybe you can share with us some of your solutions on street lighting, light pollution, and the new urban solutions could be an answer to our partners here. And now I'm delighted to turn back to our last panelists of today. But in fact, they are one of the first ones to kick off this bottom-up movement as a solution to global problems. Since 1970s, Earth Day has been championing citizen power to bring change. And we are delighted Aydın Charan is joining us with Earth Day Network. And in that sense, we have a lot of things to share together. We already have worked in the stock takes process. Aydın, how do you see this momentum and how Earth Day Network could also now bring new opportunities, especially forward-looking for the upcoming new year's engagement in 2025, which we believe will be critical for the success in Brazil? So we are here with you and look forward to your comments.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me kind of jump in last minute there since yesterday. But yeah, we hope to use Earth Day as kind of a catalyst and kind of a kickoff point between the UNFCCC COPs. And then since it's positioned 6 months apart, just about, Earth Day becomes a natural moment for the municipalities to take stock of their climate progress. And this mid-year check is an opportunity for the cities to review the implementation of the commitments made at the last COP and adapt their strategies in preparation for the next one, and also inform the decisions that are going to be made in Bonn in June of 2025. Was that 5 months prior to the COP, which COP30 I think is going to be one of the most crucial ones we have. And then by leveraging Earth Day, local governments can kind of fine-tune their climate action plans, ensuring that they're on track for COP and able to respond to both the global agreements and the unique needs of each of their communities. We recognize that local municipalities tend to have the most control over and the most direct impact on their citizens, and that's why we're super excited to be working with Italy and all of you. And we're hoping to do that in a similar fashion with the COP town halls. We're calling it the Earth Day Global Conversation, basically the same thing. We're also bringing in, religious leaders, university leaders, and people from all levels to play a crucial role in catalyzing the municipal climate action. It's not just about raising awareness, but about fostering a dynamic, community-centered process that ensures cities are actively updating and enhancing their environmental strategies. We're hoping to use this conversation as a tool for cities to align their local commitments, and particularly nationally determined contributions, or the NDCs, while also engaging their citizens. Local governments can harness the expertise, innovation, and resources of the local NGOs, the businesses, and the grassroots organizations that are kind of the core of what we do at Earth Day, is just driving that conversation forward. we're an advocacy group, so we kind of rely on all of the experts out there like you all to do all this work, and then we kind of push out that messaging to, the common people or the citizens of each of your municipalities. It's kind of taking the complicated issues with the NDCs and the complicated issues that are discussed at the UNFCCC that frankly I didn't understand 3 years ago when I started this process, translating it for everybody to make sure that they are aware, like there is progress commitments from the local people to push that forward. So we're hoping to do that with the Earth Day Global Conversation. I'm more than happy to share the one pager we have put together. Colleague Evan Rasmussen made the call today, but he's leading up that process, and he'd be more than happy to talk to all of you, and I would as well. So thank you so much, Eunice. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aidan. I think this is really giving us the power of the Daring Cities community now reaching out to additional partners to turn our dreams into realities. And of course, next year we are seeing that we have to keep our partners, national governments, accountable, and also, as you have heard, that they should be comfortable that there are solutions. This is exactly if you those who are in this process, who were part of the Paris Agreement, the plans for the first Paris Agreement related plan were not consulted or developed together with all their governments or citizens. This is really something that we are able to do it now. That's why we are really excited and positive, saying that it could be much better than the previous ones or the first experiences. So if we can use timing also 22nd of April, just at the beginning of these consultations, if we can imagine in the stock takes, we had around 20 plus stock takes at the local level. We can think about these stock takes culminating in April, a number of, let's say, good number of those discussions with partners like Alfa Laval or other business, local business. And then we can have the first results in June. The negotiators are coming in June in Bonn. We can demonstrate that your national commitments could be much better ambitious if you are working with your local partners, and then take us in the next couple of months. And obviously every country can have different models, but then we can demonstrate that the mobilization is year round, not just end of the year, not just in specific days, but it's just a process. And that gives us the power to use the daring cities communities also make more impactful results. In that sense, I think there is a certain momentum now is growing. I know Earth Day Network partners will be in Baku. Alfa Laval and other partners will be in Baku. We are also aware it's not always, I mean, we have heard from Finland, Bristol, but even there are countries in the global north who have not been up to speed. We would look forward to welcoming Sweden as one of those countries who will announce, so that it will be an additional pressure for us. But we will also look forward to new countries from the global south. In the next couple of weeks, we're expecting some new announcements from Brazil, for example. Brazil is a champion during the Urban G20 and Urban 20. We're expecting some news. We have been discussing in the global countries in the global south, which is already more than half of the champ countries, but new ones are also on the line. We are expecting to hear them and announce them in Baku in our multi-level action pavilion. So in that sense, I am positively motivated with this closing event of the Daring Cities, which after hearing all these mobilizations and also new encouraging partnerships coming up. So in that regard, we still have 7 minutes left. I see in the chat box there were a couple of questions, points, who have provided inputs. Kata, I'm sure you're monitoring some of those debates. If there are any immediate feedbacks that you may or you may recommend our partners, panelists here in this call to respond if possible. And if you want, maybe you can summarize to me because I may have missed. There may some of the points in the chat box. I see there's already responses for the LED lightning. And let's remember, Ziegfeld was also asking if there are any experiences where administrations are broadcasting public spaces, the energy consumption or their reduction targets. If Shelley from Bristol, if Aidan, any of the Earth Day, or if Anna, if any of your experiences has any experience on that, you can also comment. So maybe last 2 minutes for your rounding conclusion remarks. Let's follow the same order. Shelley, Anna, and Aidan.
Maybe on that specific point, Eunice, I'm not the best to answer, but what I did answer on in there, which I think is a really important point, was about the urbanisation and industrialisation point. And I think for our work in Bristol and for the City's Commission for Climate Investment as well, the jobs and skills part has been really important focus. It's like, and making sure that we're developing a supply chain within the city that, which means that local people can actually deliver on the net zero transition, because at the moment there isn't necessarily the supply chain that can cope with what is needed to happen. So that's been a really big focus. And for our City Leap, the £1 billion energy infrastructure programme in Bristol, actually jobs has been a big part of that, and making sure that the jobs are going to local people and there is that supply chain being developed. But yeah, I will put there's a couple of people in the chat who are interested in more specifics, so I can put them in contact.
Excellent. And let's also remember, the cities of the world existed before oil and in combustion engineer was invented. And in that sense, it is true, for the last, let's say, 200 years or so, our cities are designed around this fossil fuel dependent, let's say, civilization. But it's also true that it was the cities who had started to shift, divesting from fossil fuels, closing their streets, but still bringing mobility, still bringing energy, still bringing wealth and better living, better conditions. So in that sense, we always like to communicate that industrialization or development is not against your well-being, but in fact we can introduce new concepts, and cities are the first ones to embrace. So I'm very happy if you can disseminate such message that industrialization, urbanization can go in hand, as long as it is friendly with nature, friendly with climate, and more importantly, friendly with citizens who are benefiting from these experiences. Anna, any points you'd like to add on terms of this technology, energy solutions, which is your expertise?
I see the cities is the future's decision makers. I really put a lot of hope to the cities, and I see, talking about job creation, I think all the new jobs will be formed in the green transition. That's what we need to steer. That must be our leading star. That's where the job creation is going to go. And me working with energy efficiency at Alfa Laval, me 12 years, but Alfa Laval for 100 years. What we see is, for example, say the digitalization, AI, data center that will today consumes 2% of the Earth's energy. If you just look on US, it's foreseen by IEA that data centers will consume 10%, it's much enough, 10% of the whole US energy produced. That's a lot. But the nice thing is the data center is powered with renewable power. Actually, what you will get from a data center is 90% out will come as thermal heat. If we can use that thermal heat to heat our cities, we have decarbonized tremendously. I just can bring up one example from Germany, Rubis, the copper plant in Hamburg. They rebuilt their plant. They were able to deliver heat, excess heat, to the city of Hamburg. And by just doing that in close collaboration with the city of Hamburg, the district energy company in Hamburg, and the industry, a patchwork of financing, they really unlocked the finance together. Just by doing that, they're decreasing the carbon emission of the city of Hamburg with 110,000 tons a year. That's like you will have 73,000 cars standing still a whole year. So and that could not be accomplished without the city and the power of decision by the city. So I would like to see more of that collaboration, industry, and in this case, energy company and the city. It's vital for our future and for our kids. And that creates tremendous amount of jobs. Now you're muted, Jonas, but I assume you say something.
Before going to Aidan for the closing remark, that's very similar to the story we heard from Guangzhou, the third largest city in China, that the public fleet, by making it more manageable in terms of AI, but also electric fleet, that was also encouraging the private mobility also being much faster switching to electric vehicles. But because the public investments were there with the public bus system, and it's being managed, so that this patchworking, this bundling numerous resources to make sure a holistic citywide implementation is really the way we have to go, which is one of the third points that was raised in our solutions, that it's integrated, so that a city is more than its pieces. Therefore, we have to be making it, they work together. Aidan, again, community power, citizen power. What's your closing remarks?
Yeah, I'll be really quick, I promise. But I think my closing remarks would have to be at earthday.org. We try to push for climate education within the NDCs. And of course, education is going to start in the cities and in the towns. 86% of teachers support climate education in schools, but it's very few amount of schools actually teach about climate education. And if we want to fuel the jobs for the future, like Anna said, with the renewables and the data centers that are popping up all over the place, consuming more energy, students need to be educated about why it matters and why there's a big push for renewables other than it can make you a little bit more money. There needs to be this understanding of like, it's going to cause ecological disasters if we keep going the way we're going. We need to start making adjustments. We're also pushing for heavy renewables for next year with our theme of Our Power, Our Planet, earthday.org. And we're going to tie that all into climate education and a larger push at COP29 and COP30. So if you are attending COP29 and COP30, please reach out to me and I'll get you connected with our team.
Excellent. It was a fantastic conclusion. As we said, this is the closing of this year's Daring Cities. I think it was already giving us the momentum that we are even more strengthened and we are even more motivated that we can change for our cities for good, and we can be the hope for our communities. And we can make nations, United Nations, be inspired with our solutions through collaborative efforts. I'm so happy there were so many dynamic discussions in the chat box. We would encourage all of our colleagues, in case they want to reach our panelists or other agendas, Daring Cities communication channel is open for you. We would like you to consider your endorsement to our position that we can demonstrate. We encourage you to express your eagerness to host the town hall COP. Then we can bring you with our resolutions and results to April 22nd, Earth Day, and to June. And in between, in Baku, we will have a strong agenda. 20th of November will be the Urbanization Day, and for 2 full weeks, we will have the Multi-Level Action and Urbanization Pavilion. And with that, I'd like to congratulate all our partners who have been involved in the Daring Cities. Thanks for all panelists. Thanks for all participants of this call. And we will stay in touch, and thank you very much.